extreme, they permanently altered the climate of the Mediterranean. The destruction of Atlantis was no natural earthquake. It was the result of a seismic anomaly losing control, shattering the continental shelf and sinking the city in a single afternoon. Historians call it the Late Bronze Age collapse. We now know it as the First Superhuman World War. The sheer biokinetic energy released plunged the hemisphere into a decade-long winter. The human survivors made a collective, desperate choice to prevent future worship or weaponization. All factual records of the anomalies were systematically destroyed, relegated to myth. The surviving anomalies understood the threat they posed. Exhausted and decimated, they retreated into the shadows, burying their identities and taking a vow of absolute secrecy. Over millennia, their distinct DNA diluted into the human gene pool. The dominant traits became recessive, popping up only as brief, unexplained historical miracles. But hidden societies never stopped tracking the bloodlines. They have spent centuries cataloging the dormant Titan genetics, waiting for an environmental trigger to reawaken them. Today, advancements in CRISPR and synthetic biology are inadvertently creating that very trigger. We are no longer studying the gods of the past. We are engineering their return. The Age of Heroes wasn't a myth. It was simply the first iteration. And as the dormant genes begin to wake, the question is no longer, what if they existed? The question is, are we ready for them? Rome didn't employ anomalies as generals, but as entertainment. The legendary gladiators who fought hundreds of battles without a scratch weren't just skilled, they possessed mild dermal hardening mutations. Emperors recognized the genetic value. The original Praetorian Guard was a selective breeding program, attempting to concentrate recessive Titan strength genes to create an invincible royal vanguard. During the Dark Ages, public perception shifted. What were once called gods were now branded as demons. Atmospheric and telekinetic anomalies were hunted down and burned by a terrified, superstitious public. The bubonic plague wiped out millions, but it acted as a genetic filter. Those with minor healing factors or hyperimmune systems walked through the contagion untouched, concentrating the recessive genes in the survivors. The Renaissance brought scientific curiosity. Private journals of minds like Da Vinci reveal autopsies of angelic mutations, humans born with dormant, calcified aerodynamic skeletal structures. By the 19th century, genetic degradation took its toll. Anomalies born with immense neurokinetic power often lacked the physical brain density to process it, leading to mass incarcerations in Victorian asylums. During the Industrial Revolution, physical anomalies blended into the working class. They hid their strength in plain sight, becoming the unseen engines that built the modern world's infrastructure. The horrors of global war forced the anomalies out of hiding out of sheer survival instinct. In the trenches, biokinetic shields were documented by dozens of soldiers, only to be dismissed as shell shock. By the Cold War, superpowers had caught on. The arms race wasn't just nuclear, it was biological. Covert programs attempted to synthetically awaken the dormant Titan genes to create the ultimate operative. For 3,000 years, they managed to stay hidden in the shadows of history. But in the age of smartphones and digital surveillance, maintaining the secret of the gods has become mathematically impossible. Commercial DNA ancestry kits were the perfect Trojan horse. For a decade, shadowy corporate entities have been mapping the global genome, quietly hunting for the dormant Titan markers hidden within the general population. The secret leaked to the dark web. Now amateur biohackers are playing Russian roulette with synthetic catalysts, attempting to force the evolutionary leap. Most die, but some survive the transition. The turning point was inevitable. When the Seattle Narrows collapsed, a single commuter held 200 tons of steel for 12 minutes. In the era of social media, the veil of myth was permanently torn down. Governments scrambled to adapt. Trillion-dollar satellite networks, originally designed to track ballistic missiles, were immediately repurposed to track human beings emitting Class 5 thermal and kinetic signatures. Standard incarceration is useless. The new black sites rely on magnetic levitation and sonic dampening to hold the awakened. They are not treated as criminals, but as unexploded nuclear ordnance. Where there is power, there is exploitation. Deep underground, unchecked anomalies test their newly awakened genetics in illicit blood sports, funded by the world's wealthiest power brokers. An ideological divide is forming among the awakened. Some want to assimilate. Others are reading the ancient histories not as warnings, but as instruction manuals. They remember that they were once kings, and humanity's reaction is echoing the Bronze Age. We are not treating them as genetic outliers. In our desperation for salvation, we are beginning to worship them all over again. The Pax Titanica of the ancient world has been replaced by a modern genetic arms race. Private militaries are mass-producing synthetic anomalies, preparing for a war that conventional weapons cannot win. For 3,000 years, the Titans slept in our blood. Today, they are waking up. The gods have returned. And this time, they have the whole world to break. The Epic of Gilgamesh is humanity's oldest written story, describing a ruler two-thirds divine. Historical forensic reanalysis suggests this wasn't lineage, but the very first recognized Class 1 dermal muscle integration. The god Thor was not a mythical entity. He was a bioelectric conduit. Eyewitness accounts describe his body acting as a capacitor, channeling atmospheric voltage through a process that permanently scarred his tissue in unique, geometric patterns. The myth of Medusa hid a more complex biological weapon. Certain rare optical anomalies could emit focused neuroparalytic frequencies, triggering instant, systematic, full-body calcification of organic tissue in living organisms. The worship of Ra was founded on observed capabilities. Specific anomalies in the Nile Valley possessed a radical mutation in their cellular structure, allowing them to synthesize and store massive solar energy, effectively operating as walking nuclear reactors. The Hebrew text describes Samson as having divine strength tied to his hair. Biologically, the hair was a diagnostic tool. Its length and density directly indicated the peak hormonal output required to maintain his unsustainable cellular mass. The legendary weakness of Achilles was a fatal drawback of early gene stabilization. While his body was functional, a single point of impact, the molecular anchor in his foot, triggered a violent, cascading cellular decay. King Minos commissioned Daedalus to build a prison for his son. This Minotaur was not a monster, but a victim of an early, uncontrollable, and highly deformed mutation. The labyrinth was a father's tragic attempt to hide his mistake from the world. The story of Icarus is not a lesson on hubris. It is the first recorded test flight. The mechanical wings were simply a crude stabilizing tool for a youth with weak levitation capabilities who lost molecular cohesion at high altitudes. The secret weapon of Rome's later campaigns was the integration of rare kinetic anomalies. By bonding with specially trained mounts, these riders could generate focused speed force tunnels, bypassing difficult terrain and shattering enemy lines. Before the library burned, one last prophecy was recorded. The Pythia did not foresee a war between empires, but a catastrophic second awakening. She didn't just predict our present, she saw it as our judgment. The feathered serpent of Mesoamerica was not a god of the sky, but an early account of aerodynamic manipulation. These anomalies used specialized feathered garbs not for ritual, but to stabilize their localized anti-gravity fields during flight. Ancient Sanskrit texts describe the Brahmastra, a weapon of total annihilation. Modern atomic forensics in the Rajasthan desert suggest these were not physical weapons, but localized catastrophic energy discharges by Class 6 thermal anomalies. The legendary invisibility of the shinobi clans wasn't just stealth training. Historical diaries of the shogunate detail specific bloodlines capable of active optical camouflage, bending ambient light waves around their cellular structure. Before the desertification of the Sahara, specific tribal leaders held absolute power through hydrokinetic and atmospheric manipulation. They weren't praying for rain, they were forcibly extracting moisture from the atmosphere. Irish mythology speaks of the warp spasm of Cuchulainn. Biologists now view this as acute hyperadrenal hypertrophy, a survival mechanism where the body flooded with synthetic hormones, temporarily mutating the skeletal and muscular structure. The colonization of the Pacific was a navigational miracle, but the myth of wave tamers suggests that hydrokinetic anomalies led these fleets, physically subduing the ocean's currents to ensure safe passage across the globe. Figures like Baba Yaga hint at anomalies who achieved extreme longevity through botanical symbiosis. They possess the ability to merge their nervous systems with the root networks of ancient forests, effectively arresting cellular decay. The concept of ki in ancient martial arts originated from a specific genetic trait, kinetic absorption. These monks could absorb massive physical impacts and instantly ground the energy, rendering their bodies virtually indestructible. The Nazca lines were never meant for the gods. They were landing strips and navigational markers, scorched into the earth by airborne anomalies using thermal emission to coordinate global movement across continents. Nearly every culture on Earth shares the myth of a great flood. When we view the anomalies as a global network, the deluge ceases to be a myth. It was a coordinated, planetary-scale extinction event triggered by the strongest among them. Conventional police forces are obsolete. Governments have quietly deployed vanguard units, paramilitary task forces armed with non-lethal, high-energy suppression technology designed specifically to subdue awakened anomalies. You cannot put handcuffs on a kinetic anomaly. Instead, they are neutralized using weaponized acoustics. Concentrated sonic frequencies disrupt their inner ear equilibrium, effectively paralyzing their motor functions and disabling their abilities. Containment requires biological suppression. DARPA has developed the limiter, a heavy metal synthetic compound that temporarily bonds to the subject's DNA, suffocating the Titan gene and reverting them to baseline human biology. For Class 5 thermal and kinetic anomalies, surface prisons are a liability. The ultimate black site is located at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, The freezing temperatures and crushing atmospheric pressure act as a natural, inescapable straitjacket. Bioelectric anomalies, the descendants of Zeus and Thor, are housed in pure copper Faraday cages. Any energy they attempt to discharge is immediately grounded and routed back into the facility's power grid. We are no longer reacting. We are predicting. Global surveillance, AIS, monitor bloodwork registries, internet search histories, and localized electromagnetic anomalies to dispatch capture teams hours before a subject's genes fully activate. Not all are imprisoned. The most stable subjects are given a choice: life in a deep-sea cell or service to the state. Fitted with explosive compliance collars, they are the first drafted soldiers of the new genetic Cold War. But there are those who cannot be suppressed. For Class 6 anomalies, individuals possessing apocalyptic level energy yields, the only containment protocol is immediate, sanitized, orbital bombardment. However, absolute secrecy is a myth. Military whistleblowers have begun leaking the Olympus files to the public. The world is finally seeing the black sites, the compliance collars, and the horrifying reality of what we do to our own gods. And inevitably, containment fails. The strongest subjects are breaking out. The vanguard units are being slaughtered. The black sites are falling. The age of human control is coming to a violent end. The cover-up wasn't an accident. It was a crusade. For 2 millennia, organizations like the Holy See have guarded the true history of the anomalies, locking away the anatomical texts that proved the old gods were flesh and blood. The Knights Templar didn't find the Holy Grail in Jerusalem. They found the discarded armor of the Titans, artifacts forged with ancient bioreactive metallurgy, designed to amplify the powers of the anomalies who wore them. Today, these ancient orders wear business suits. Multi-billion-dollar biotech conglomerates are simply the modern front for the keepers of the bloodline, using global medical infrastructure to hunt for dormant Titan genetics. Through commercial ancestry tests and nationalized healthcare databases, the Society has successfully mapped the modern descendants. They know exactly who carries the recessive genes. They know exactly where they live. When an unpredictable awakening is detected outside of their control, the Society acts swiftly. Elite erasure teams are deployed to quietly terminate the subjects before their powers fully manifest and breach the global cover-up. But the Society isn't just hunting the anomalies, they are breeding them. By carefully managing bloodlines, they have placed dormant Titans in the highest seats of global power, waiting for the right moment to activate them. For centuries, their mandate was containment. But a radical faction has taken control of the Society. They no longer want to hide in the shadows. They believe the world is weak, and that it is time for the gods to reclaim the earth. Using ancient alchemical texts and modern CRISPR technology, the Society has perfected the Ambrosia catalyst, a synthetic trigger designed to forcefully awaken the dormant Titan genes in millions of hosts simultaneously. They aren't going to build an army. They are going to trigger an evolutionary bottleneck. By introducing the catalyst into global distribution networks, they intend to force the entire human race through a violent genetic trial by fire. The greatest secret of all, the Society isn't run by human billionaires or corrupt popes. It is run by a Class 7 anomaly who never went dormant. A king from the dawn of time, who has patiently waited 3,000 years to take his throne back. The deployment of the Ambrosia catalyst was silent. It didn't arrive via ballistic missiles or invading armies. It came through the tap. Within 72 hours, the synthetic trigger had integrated into the global water supply, rewriting the DNA of billions in real time. The awakening was violent. The baseline human body was not prepared for the sudden, aggressive surge of dormant biokinetic energy. Across the globe, thousands of people spontaneously transformed into localized weapons of mass destruction during their morning commutes. The military task forces were designed to hunt isolated individuals. They were completely unprepared for a planetary surge. Within a week, global containment protocols collapsed as the ratio of human to anomaly shifted permanently. The black sites fell from the inside out. Deep in the Mariana Trench, Class 5 prisoners, no longer sedated by chemical limiters, weaponized the crushing oceanic pressure to shatter their own chains. With global infrastructure in ruins, the Grandmaster stepped out of the shadows. The ancient king didn't speak through television broadcast or the internet. He bypassed technology entirely, projecting a single terrifying telepathic thought into the minds of every living creature on Earth. They didn't just destroy, they rebuilt. Guided by ancestral genetic memories, the strongest of the awakened began to terraform the planet. Monolithic fortresses ripped their way through the Earth's crust, reconstructing the lost strongholds of Olympus and Atlantis. For baseline humanity, the illusion of supremacy evaporated. Our fighter jets, our nuclear arsenals, our digital networks, all rendered obsolete in a matter of days by walking gods who could melt steel with a glance and pluck satellites from orbit. A new hierarchy immediately formed. The strongest among them claimed entire continents as their personal domains. The Pax Titanica had returned, but this time it was built directly on the ashes of the modern world. The history books will close the chapter on the Anthropocene. The era of human technology is over. The genetic loop has finally closed, dragging humanity kicking and screaming back into the Bronze Age. And so, the story begins again. We are no longer the masters of this world. We are simply the witnesses, the mortal scribes, left behind in the dirt to record the dawn of the second age of Titans. The truth has been hidden for millennia, but the archives are finally open. To uncover more of human history's greatest secrets, you must join the resistance. Subscribe now. The oracles saw the future, and now, so can you. Hit the notification bell to be alerted the exact moment the next transmission drops. Do not let the truth slip back into the shadows. The secret society survived for thousands of years by keeping humanity divided. Break their control. Like and share this broadcast to spread the catalyst across the global network. We are constantly monitoring the data streams. Leave your findings in the comments below. Which ancient anomaly do you believe is waking up next? Your theories will shape our next investigation. The second age of Titans has just begun. The question is, which side of history will you stand on? Click on the screen to access the next anomaly file, and remember, the gods are watching.
65 million years ago, the universe made a different choice. The Chicxulub asteroid missed. and the undisputed rulers of Earth were allowed to keep their throne. Fast forward to the 22nd century. Evolution didn't stop, it branched. Humanity eventually arose, but we were forced to share the world with the ancient lords of the prehistoric age. Welcome to Neopangia, a fragile utopia where human engineering and primal biology exist in a delicate, symbiotic dance. But this harmony is beginning to fracture. Elias is a relic of the old ways, a paleo-engineer trying to keep the peace on the ground level. For him and his raptor hound Rex, survival means understanding that humans are no longer the apex predators. Because while humans built machines, the descendants of the Trudons evolved their minds. They became the Saurians, a highly intelligent humanoid reptilian race that commands the deep jungles. Humanity's population is exploding. We need land, we need energy, and leaders like Senator Varia are tired of asking the Saurians for permission. They want to conquer the deep reserves. To push back the Saurian borders, humanity has weaponized nature itself, forcing peaceful titans into machines of war. The line between coexistence and conquest has blurred. Elias knows that a war between mammals and saurians will end in absolute extinction. He meets with Kale, hoping diplomacy can outpace the drums of war, but they are too late. Under Varia's orders, a preemptive strike hits the borderlands. The Treaty of Neopangia is broken. The Saurians do not retreat. They answer human steel with millions of years of predatory instinct, backed by their own devastating biological technology. The ancient kings have gone to war. Caught in the crossfire, Elias must navigate a collapsing city. He isn't trying to win the war, he's trying to find the one piece of evidence that can stop Varia's campaign before both species wipe each other out. The sky darkens not with storm clouds, but with the wings of apex predators. The human military realizes too late that they have underestimated the sheer scale of the Saurian armada. Varia believed humanity was destined to rule this earth, but pride is a mammalian flaw. In the face of nature's perfect survivors, human arrogance is about to be violently humbled. In the heart of the ruins, Elias plays his final card: the truth. Data proving that the resource crisis was manufactured by Varia's political faction to provoke the war. The war halts on a knife's edge. Evolution is a brutal teacher, but it demands adaptation. If humans and dinosaurs are to survive, they must evolve past their instincts and finally, truly, share the earth. The truth brought a ceasefire, but not justice. Refusing to accept defeat, Senator Varia escapes the capital, slipping into the shadows of the unregulated deep zones with her most loyal extremists. To hunt down a rogue human, the Saurian Council authorizes something unprecedented: a cross-species task force. Elias, a human engineer, is named an honorary warden of the deep jungle. The hunt begins underground. Rex, with a sense of smell millions of years in the making, catches a trail. But it isn't just the scent of Varia's soldiers, it's the scent of something foul. Synthesized chemicals. Varia isn't the only one who rejected the peace. Deep in the ruins, radical Saurian purists, known as the Bloodscales, are waging their own shadow war, slaughtering any humans who dare enter the sector. Varia doesn't need an army anymore. She has retreated to a decommissioned biolab to finish Project Chicxulub, an engineered retrovirus designed to target Saurian DNA. If released, it will do what the asteroid couldn't. Tracking the chemical runoff, Elias and Kale descend into the forgotten caverns beneath Neopangia, a place where the ancient flora has reclaimed the foundations of the old human cities. Varia's loyalists were waiting for them. Heavily armed and heavily armored, they hold the choke points leading to the lab. But the humans forget that Saurian diplomats are still apex predators. Beneath the elegant robes and philosophical mind lies the devastating speed and power of a prehistoric hunter. Rex secures the perimeter. In moments, the elite human death squad is dismantled by the perfect evolutionary synergy of human tactics and dinosaur ferocity. They push deeper, only to find the radical Bloodscales already dead, but not by bullets. Varia had tested her weapon. The Chicxulub virus is fully operational, and it is horrifyingly effective. A hacked terminal reveals Varia's true objective. She isn't just going to release the gas in the caves. She is heading for the city's primary atmospheric processor to disperse the virus globally. With only minutes to spare, Elias, Kale, and Rex race back to the surface. The fate of an entire sentient species now rests on outrunning a ghost from humanity's darkest impulses. High above the city, Varia inserts the payload. If those fans reach maximum velocity, the Chicxulub virus will become airborne, raining invisible death across every Saurian territory on Earth. But the past isn't allowed to dictate the future. The final standoff. A disgraced senator clinging to supremacy. A human engineer fighting for a shared world. And a Saurian holding the power of life and death. The countdown reaches 10 seconds. Madness wins. Blinded by her hatred for the ancient lords of Earth, Varia slams the override. The massive turbines shift into overdrive, groaning under the immense mechanical stress as the atmospheric dispersal begins. Before the gas can reach the main vents, Kale acts. With the calculating precision of an apex predator, he launches his spear, sacrificing his ancestral weapon to jam the processor's primary drive. Elias charges, throwing Varia clear of the backup controls. It is a violent rejection of everything she stands for. A human engineer physically tearing down the architect of human supremacy. And Rex finishes the job. Millions of years of predatory instinct channeled not into hunting flesh, but into severing the digital nervous system of the machine. The turbines scream to a grinding halt. The machinery is dead, but the pressure buildup causes the canister to rupture. The Chicxulub virus leaks into the immediate containment chamber. It won't reach the city, but the room is now a death trap. Trapped beneath the wreckage of her own ambition, Varia breathes in the toxic fog. Engineered only for saurians, the virus leaves her unharmed. But she is defeated, broken, and left to wait for the authorities she once commanded. But for Kale, the exposure is devastating. Even a localized leak of the Chicxulub compound is enough to poison a saurian's biology. The diplomat begins to suffocate on the very air of his homeworld. Elias refuses to lose his friend. Hauling the massive saurian into an emergency airlock, he seals the breach. It is the ultimate testament to their alliance, a human risking his own life to preserve a dinosaur. The threat is neutralized. The peacekeeper fleets arrive to secure the facility and arrest the rogue elements. The global extinction event has been averted by a matter of seconds. Kale will survive. The saurian medical technology, combined with the human quick response, purges the poison from his system. For the first time in weeks, Elias and Rex can finally rest. 5 years later, the scars of the brief war have healed, giving birth to a true Neopangia. The fear of extinction forced both species to look past their differences and build a society that honors both mind and nature. The Grand Assembly is formed. No longer ruled by fear or secret councils, Earth is guided by a unified coalition. They realize that fighting over one planet is small-minded for two apex species. Kale addresses the world, stating that Earth was never meant to be a cage. It was a crucible. It forged the greatest survivors the universe has ever seen, and now it is time to leave the nest. Together, they build the Chicxulub, not a weapon of death, but a vessel of exploration. Named after the asteroid that missed, it symbolizes the future they were spared to create. The dinosaurs never went extinct. Instead, they waited. They waited for us to join them. And now, the children of the mammals and the lords of the reptiles are ready to conquer the stars together. While the Chicxulub ventured into the void, friction on Earth did not disappear. Deep in the unregulated zones, a human extremist faction called the Reclaimers emerged, viewing the unified government and space exploration as a betrayal of humanity's destiny. Their leader, a former military operative named Silas, believed the resources spent on space should have been used to reclaim dinosaur-held territories. They were constructing specialized sonic dampeners designed to exploit a known saurian neurological vulnerability. Their first target was the Viridian Basin, a vital saurian agricultural commune essential for feeding the unified capital's integrated population. The attack was silent and localized. The specialized frequency overloaded the saurian neurological systems, instantly incapacitating the entire commune without triggering traditional unified defense alarms. Reclaimer ground troops immediately secured the area, beginning the hostile takeover of the food supply, intending to hold the capital hostage until the unified government dissolved and space explorations ceased. News of the silent siege reached the capital. Kale immediately recognized the signatures, an attack using knowledge, not brute force. It was a betrayal from within the alliance they fought to create. Elias could not remain passive. This crisis required human expertise and dinosaur instinct to resolve without sparking a new, full-scale war. He and Rex prepared for insertion. Inserted covertly, Elias and Rex surveyed the transformed commune. The Reclaimers were rapidly fortifying, ready to defend their stolen territory. Elias located Silas on a massive construction platform. The subsequent confrontation was purely ideological. Silas argued for human manifest destiny, while Elias defended the complex necessity of balance. The debate ended when Silas drew his weapon, but he forgot that a unified civilization means all its members are ready to defend it. Rex neutralized the threat without lethal force, honoring the spirit of the alliance. With the leadership neutralized, unified forces arrived to secure the basin. The quick, low-casualty resolution demonstrated that their integrated forces were capable of maintaining peace without breaking the truce. Before the Grand Assembly, Kale reaffirmed their commitment. The greatest challenges are internal. They must prove that coexistence is resilient enough to withstand the shadows of their collective pasts. As peace was restored on Earth, the eyes of the unified government turned back to the heavens. The success of Elias and Rex only strengthened their conviction. Exploration is their shared destiny. The expedition prepares to make first contact. This vessel, built by combined hands and minds, represents their fragile peace, now their passport to the cosmos. The dinosaurs never went extinct. We learned to live beside them. Their story, and ours, has merged into a single narrative, evolving together on Earth and among the stars. The true legacy of Neopangia has just begun. Beyond the familiar warmth of our solar system, the Chicxulub cuts through the interstellar dark. The swirling exoplanet Neopangia looms large in the viewport. It is a world of violent storms and untamed wilderness, a primal frontier that closely echoes ancient Earth. For a purely human crew, this volatile world would be a death sentence. For a purely saurian crew, the atmospheric radiation would be an insurmountable barrier. But together, stepping onto foreign soil for the first time, they are the perfect pioneers. Rex bounds out ahead of them, testing the strange air before letting out a deafening roar that echoes across an entirely new world. It is a sound 65 million years in the making. They quickly discover they are not alone. The dense jungles of Neopangia are alive with immense crystalline beasts and apex predators that defy terrestrial biology. But the explorers do not repeat the mistakes of their past. Kyle's deep biological empathy bridges the gap with the alien fauna, while Elias's engineering creates clean energy grids that seamlessly integrate into the ecosystem. They are not invaders. They are students of a new Genesis. Decades pass. The temporary landing site blossoms into a sprawling, magnificent interstellar colony. The children of Earth, mammalian and reptilian alike, grow up together under the light of an alien sun. They study the histories of a time when their ancestors fought over scraps of dirt and almost burned their home to the ground, a concept that seems utterly incomprehensible to them now. The Alliance has become an unbreakable iron bond across the stars. We often look at the fossil record and see only tragedy, but in this universe the asteroid was nothing more than a passing shadow. The dinosaurs didn't die, they grew. Humanity didn't conquer, we learned to share. Evolution is not simply a contest of the survival of the fittest, it is the ultimate journey of the mind, reaching out to find its reflection in the dark. The story of Neopangia continues to expand deeper into the uncharted cosmos. If you want to journey with us into these incredible alien worlds, do not let this transmission end here. Hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and tell us below, what alternate history should we explore next?